Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 970B, and today's date is May 13th, 2016, and the title of the episode is FBI Warns Nation-State Cyber Attacks Are Targeting U.S. Government and Private Sectors. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, a couple reports ago, we talked about Facebook and how they are suppressing or manipulating the news, specifically conservative news. And they kept denying it, saying, no, we don't do this. Whatever's trending, that's what is really happening. We don't touch it. Well, Recode, they have leaked a training document. And what it says is that, yes, they do manipulate the news. Instructions in the document appear to contradict Facebook's earlier denials of that Gizmodo article that said Facebook editors directly inserted headlines into the trending news widget. It also contradicts what Facebook told Recode last summer. And they're out there saying, yeah, this training document right here shows that they actually manipulate what people are seeing. And this is all part of the corporate media, all part of the system where they need to continually manipulate what people are seeing. And we know at this point is because they want people thinking in a certain way. They don't want them to hear certain stories. They don't want them to hear stories around the world. Only what the U.S. government wants you to hear. And if there's an election going on, they want certain information out there, and they don't want other information to be presented to anyone. And this is how they play the game. And because they feel if they admit it, it's no big deal. It's not like they're hiding it. It's not like they lied. They just left it out. And that's not really reporting all news. That's selecting news. Very big difference. So we know the government loves to spy on the people. And they do it through many different ways. And we know they are trying to get encryption removed. But what I find very interesting, and this reminds me of the movie V for Vendetta, where they had that van driving around, and if you haven't seen it, I would go just watch the movie. But if you have seen it, you know that van that was driving around where they were intercepting all the communication. It was all coming into one place, and they were listening to the communication. They were just driving around town, making sure that nobody was saying something about the government or anything like that. And if there was, they send the people in there. Well, in Philadelphia, there was an SUV in that area, and it had the Google Maps sign on it. And this is a truck that you would see where Google drives around and they map the streets, and there's cameras on top. So people passing by would say, oh, okay, it's a Google Map truck. It's just parked here. Not a big deal. But the problem is that on top of the truck, there were two high-powered license plate reader cameras. And they were recording all the license plates all over the place. And when you look at the place card on the dashboard, it's registered with the Philadelphia Office of Fleet Management. And the Philadelphia Police Department, they have admitted it is their truck, and now they're launching an inquiry to why this was disguised as a Google vehicle. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more of these type of vehicles out there where you think it's a delivery van, you think it's a Google street map truck mapping the streets, because we can see the U.S. government central bankers, the local law enforcement, they're all under the same umbrella. Their instructions are to spy on the people. And what they've been doing is they've been photographing thousands of license plates, and they were doing this throughout the day, and they were warrantlessly tracking and storing the average person's travel habits. And once they have this, they know, where you are, where you're going, where you've been. It's not that they're getting the license plate. They're taking the license plate, putting it to a location, and every time it pops up, they can figure out where you go and where you are at any point in the day. So if they had this truck here at the convention center, they had one at a supermarket, they had one over here, whenever they start picking you up, they know where you are because it starts to correlate into one place, and they can use this to track individuals. And of course, this is a violation of your rights. Now, out in Venezuela, we see the coup is pushing forward here. And what's very interesting is the next active president of Brazil is going to be Michel Temer. And this man is almost as unpopular as the president he is replacing. Now, he hasn't won any elections on his own in a decade. And he's usually in the background. He's a wheeler dealer. And he's looking to replace his boss. Now, what's very interesting about all of this, as it turns out, this person, Temer, is part of the U.S. State Department's coup d'etat to put in a puppet government. Because earlier today, WikiLeaks released evidence via declassified cable that Brazil's new interim president was an embassy informant for the U.S. intelligence and military. He communicated with the U.S. Embassy in Brazil, and such content would be classified as sensitive and for official use only. What do you think he was doing? He was helping the United States form this coup d'etat in Brazil. They're doing it in Venezuela. They want it in Argentina. They've been trying in Syria. They did it in Ukraine. It's all part of the United States government central bankers' master plan. Replace governments that don't cooperate with us with a puppet government. Install a central bank, a private Western central bank. Take their oil and have them sell it using the dollar. Now, this most likely will blow up in their face because we see all the other countries. They are a complete disaster. And we're going to have to watch this situation very, very carefully. Now, out in Tunisia, we see that the United States, they're going to supply them with military hardware. And this is part of their $20 million allocation to enhance their military capabilities of the country. And what they're going to give them, because of the Islamic State, they're going to give them 12 light surveillance aircraft and 48 jeeps, as well as communications technologies to track extremists attempting to infiltrate the country. Because we realize that in Libya, and Tunisia borders right against Libya, there's going to be war. Now, we realize at this point that Russia is trying to step in. They're talking to Italy. Lavrov is talking to his counterpart in Italy, trying to defuse the situation there, because once the unity government is in place, we know that there are troops standing by. We know that they've been planning this, and they're just waiting for the green light for the go-ahead. Now, the U.S. at this point, they are looking to loosen the arms embargo. Now, before the unity government was there, they said absolutely not. We're not going to loosen the arms embargo. Now the unity government is in Libya. They're saying, okay, you know something? Maybe it's time. So, if the Libyan government prepares a detailed and coherent list of things that they want, they're going to look at this and they'll have the UN go ahead and lift the arms embargo. Because what they're getting ready for is a major offensive in this country. This is what they're preparing for. They want them armed and ready. And once they get the green light, all hell's going to break loose in this area. It's going to spread to other countries, and we're going to see the Middle East light up. The United States government central bankers, they've been planning this. They've been preparing for this with many other countries. And we're going to see this really kick off, most likely this summer. Now, out in Libya, we realize that there are many countries that have special op teams inside of Libya. They've been there for quite a while. They're preparing, getting ready, doing reconnaissance missions. We know France has been sending their drones over. U.S. has been sending their drones over. We know forces have been built up in this area. And what we're starting to find out is that the U.S. have 2 military outposts in Libya since late 2015, each containing fewer than 25 troops. Now, one is in Misrata and the other one is in Benghazi, but Misrata is aligned with the Tripoli government, who's the real government of Libya. And these are in position for what is coming. Now, the UN wants to get into Turkey because of human rights violations against the Kurds. And the UN is ready to send a mission to Turkey to investigate what is going on there, because there's a lot of reports coming out that there are a lot of abuses, a lot of people being killed, and the UN is urging Turkey right now to allow investigators to probe into these allegations. Now, of course, is Turkey just going to let them in? Most likely not, but we'll have to wait and see, and we'll see what they do. Out in Syria right now, we see, once again, it is the Syrian rebels that have been committing war crimes. They've been shelling civilians in Aleppo. Now, this is coming out from Amnesty, and they're saying that 83 civilians died, including 30 children. They were killed in the Sheikh Maksoud neighborhood of Aleppo. What they do is they fire imprecise explosive weapons right into the civilian neighborhoods. And we know that they're going to be using chemical weapons because we already got reports on that. And all of these atrocities are coming from the terrorist groups and the Free Syrian Army, which are controlled by the United States government central bankers. So we're starting to get this picture right now, which we've been talking about for a very long time, that all of this is being done by the U.S. side, by the coalition forces. And every time they come out and try to point the finger at Assad or Russia, it always points back to them. Now, the SWIFT system handles transactions around the world. And we know that our government employees are continually telling us that we can expect a virtual 911, a cyber Pearl Harbor, and they keep building up the propaganda that we're going to be cyber attacked. Now, SWIFT is saying they've been attacked twice. The first breach was $81 million breach at the Bangladesh Central Bank. And right now they're saying there's another financial institution that has been targeted and hit with this advanced, sophisticated malware. And they came out and said that the attackers clearly exhibit deep and sophisticated knowledge of specific operational controls within the targeted banks. Knowledge that may have been gained from malicious insiders or cyber attacks, or a combination of the both. Now, the U.S. right now in the corporate media, they're going with the idea that these are state actors and the SWIFT system has been cyber attacked. Because already I see stories out there and they are blaming North Korea for the Bangladesh bank cyber heist. Now, they did this with Sony. Of course, do they have any proof? No, they don't need the proof. They just need to say it and people will believe it. Because what they're doing is they're using this to convince the world that North Korea has the ability to do something like this. They don't have to show proof. And also, let me just say, it is very difficult to prove who did a cyber attack, especially an advanced state actor, because they don't do it from their country. They bounce it off many different servers. They cover their tracks. Very difficult to figure out where it came from. And the time frame that the corporate media and the U.S. government usually has when they report something like this is either a day or two. And I'm telling you right now, completely impossible. It just can't be done. That's how you know it's propaganda. But the FBI is out there, and they have reported that foreign government hackers are continuing to target U.S. government and private sector computer networks in sophisticated cyber attacks. The advanced persistent threat, cyber actors continue to target sensitive information stored on U.S. commercial and government networks. And this came out from a May 11th notice. Now, the term APT actor, this is a state-sponsored or highly sophisticated cyber attacker. usually foreign governments, military, intelligence services. You see where they're leading to at this point. You see why they're building this up, why they're using the propaganda. And they're saying that these state-sponsored hackers are hitting the infrastructure. They're exploring the financial institutions. And they're very nervous about what might happen here. And we know what's going to happen. We know that they've been planning this for quite a while. We know that power outage in Ukraine, where they used a Russian malware, which was developed a very long time ago, and everyone who's, that does cyber hacks and things like that, they have access to the malware. Well, they blamed it on Russia, and they wanted to test it out to see if they can bring down the power infrastructure in Ukraine, and they actually did it. I believe back in 2003 when we had the power outage in the East Coast, this was also a test, because they do these things very far in advance to make sure they understand how it works, how it's been done. And we can see right now that they're using the propaganda and the idea that the U.S. is going to be cyber attacked. And this is the perfect propaganda, because the U.S. government, central bankers, they don't have to prove anything. All they have to do is shut things down or plant a piece of malware that they control and say it was somebody else. And this is exactly what they've been planning. Because all this time right now, they've been telling us that Russia has malware in the power infrastructure. China has been hacking in. North Korea now has been hacking in. Syria, with the Syrian Electronic Army, they've been hacking in. Iran. And they're just keeping this alive long enough so when this entire system comes down, they have people to blame. Now, they're taking this a step further. And everyone knows the name Osama bin Laden. And what they're doing right now is they're trying to bring back the bin Laden name. Of course, they waved those pages at us about Saudi Arabia. And now Hamza bin Laden, who's the 23-year-old son, he is being put up as the poster child of maybe attacking and calling to arms another terrorist act. And what they're trying to say is that he's being groomed to take over Al-Qaeda. And it looks like they're putting all the pieces together here to create this picture to convince the U.S., the American people, the European people, the Canadian people, the Australian people, the UK people, and the rest of the world that here we have another known terrorist who's the son of the terrorist that brought down the towers of 9/11. Now we know this is all fake, but this is what they're trying to use to convince everyone that this next attack is going to be 10 times as worse as 9/11. Now we know 9/11 was a complete inside job. We know other foreign governments did help with bringing down the towers. We know the towers were insured against terrorist attacks months before the attack actually occurred. We know there was a lot of asbestos in the building and had to be removed, and it was going to cost billions and billions of dollars. It'd be easier to demolish the buildings. So what we're seeing at this point is they are preparing, getting ready for this next event. And we do have a perfect storm coming up. And I mentioned this before. I mean, really think about it. We have the elections coming up this year. The economy is continually deteriorating, and the government numbers make no sense whatsoever. They don't jive with what the actual industry is reporting. They're completely separate and apart. We see they're provoking war across the globe. Russia is in Syria. The U.S. is backed against the wall. We know the status quo, they don't want Trump in office. They despise him. They rather have Clinton. I don't even think they want Sanders. So they can do one or two things. They can assassinate him, but I think that's too obvious at this point. I think people will realize, well, wait a minute. He was assassinated before he was president? That's kind of strange. He became president and then he was assassinated? Okay, this is way too obvious. But if there is some type of economic disaster, if there is some type of physical attack, the president at this point can go to Congress and say, we need to go to state of emergency and we need to hold off elections temporarily. Now, if he does this in July, it won't work. If he does it in September, maybe. Most likely, he will wait until October. Because we know in August, they're getting ready to go into Syria. And once this happens, all bets are off. War is going to begin. And going forward, he can say state of emergency because of war. He can say it because of a physical attack. He can say it because of a cyber attack. He can say the economy just crashed because of what's happening out in the Middle East. He can use anything at this point. We have this perfect storm coming up. And we need to be ready for when it comes. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.